It's summertime and the living is supposedly easy. The warm, lazy afternoons lying on the beach or trying to pass the time on that uncomfortable aeroplane seat. It's now we need a roundup of the season's best reads. And here, after sifting through hundreds of new titles, is our very own summer lover, Augustin Trapenard, with our summer reading list. We're also joined by the French author Aurélie Levy, who's written a page-turner about the secrets of a mystery Hollywood star. Welcome to you both. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Augustin, I just want to start with you. If you're abroad on the beach, what's the best thing to read?
Something to read at the beach. I'm thinking something light and sexy, Eve. A book you can start, and then read a couple of chapters and put it away to have a lunch or to have a swim, and then easily plunge back into the book. That would be Star Island by Carl Hiaasen. It's about a singer a little bit like Britney Spears, and basically she has a stunt undercover stunt double who's really, when she's really sloshed, and this girl one day is kidnapped by a mean paparazzi. I really like the rhythm of the action. I like also the language, which is witty and full of name-dropping. It's a brilliant take on today's pop culture. Star Island by Carl Hiaasen.
Okay, well, that's one for the beach. Now one if you're stuck with your family.
Yeah, that probably will be my case. And I'm thinking of a book, about the beauties and the miseries of the family, possibly a sad one, which makes you feel happy about what you have to deal with. My pick would be We the Animals by Justin Torres. It's a short novel of coming of age and loss of innocence in a dysfunctional family. It's a beautiful novel. In this book, the children don't say I, but we, and gradually the narrator finds his own individuality. We the Animals, because in this family it's all about cries and squeals and bites and scratches, and they're described as animals. It's a dazzling book, and I know that you had Justin Torres on the show, Eve.
I did. Well, he actually came in recently to talk about the book, and I asked if, given the title, he thinks humans are really no different to animals.
By the end of the book, I want the reader to resist that title. I want the characters to be shown as so fully human that you resist that kind of easy label. But I wanted to also talk about what happens when our kind of wild lusts and passions aren't tamed, and what are the effects on that.
Now, finally, if you're too broke to travel, something that's going to cheer you up?
Yeah, or will make you travel maybe, because when you read a book, at least in your mind, you do travel. I'm thinking of a Danish adventure book, which has been translated into English. It's called We the Drowned, and it spans, Eve, the whole century, 3 generations of mariners, and plenty of places from the Danish coast to the warm seas of Tasmania. It's a huge book, 700 pages, but it's beautifully composed and written. Just go for it. And what are your favorite books for the summer? Your favorite picks, Eve?
My favorite picks are slightly less highbrow than maybe yours would be. The Hunger Games trilogy. Have you guys read this?
I haven't read it yet.
Absolutely fabulous. It's for young adults, which might give you a bit of an idea of what I like reading on holiday. Nothing too challenging. It's just been made into a film, and it's such a brilliant idea. It's set in dystopian future where America is this dreadful place. It's made up of 12 different districts, and every year 2 young people from these districts are put in this horrible competition and have to fight to the death, and there's only one of them who survives, and it's all like a big reality TV show, but I just couldn't put it down. I read all 3 in 1 week on holiday. It was absolutely brilliant. Aurélie, what's your summer read?
My summer read will probably be Lying on the Couch by Irvin Yalom, which is he's a psychotherapist, and he describes a series of sessions that are very twisted and very smartly written, or any book by James Fry.
Okay, good choice. Well, we've talked about books to take us away or to keep us busy, but there is a very glamorous town in France that's been attracting writers and artists for decades. Many of us know it because of Brigitte Bardot, who chose it as her home. Our reporters have been on the literary trail in Saint-Tropez in the south of France.
In the 60s, Saint-Tropez was the playground of Brigitte Bardot. The Riviera town still has that allure, but long before the glamour days, when Saint-Tropez was a simple fishing port, it was a literary refuge. In 1926, novelist Colette bought a farmhouse that she gave the pastoral name La Très Muscat, the muscat vine.
Such fresh air, such warmth, such perfume. Who could describe the beauty of this countryside?
30 years later, the novelist of a new generation, Françoise Sagan, discovered the town. Every summer for many years, she stayed at Le Ponche Hotel.
Sagan l'avait très bien vu et senti.
Françoise Sagan saw and felt it deeply. She wrote of Saint-Tropez that the town created bonds between people like no other town. And I think that's very true.
Et je crois que c'est très vrai, ça.
Falling in love with the authenticity of Saint-Tropez, Sagan spread the word among her friends.
All her artist friends came down from Paris, the whole gang. But the locals didn't pay attention, they blended in. At the time, there were more locals than tourists in Saint-Tropez.
That era is over. These days, hordes of tourists descend on the town every summer. Flashy yachts have replaced the fishing boats, but Saint-Tropez hasn't lost its power to inspire.
Écrire sur Saint-Tropez parce que quand on arrive ici.
Writing in Saint-Tropez, when you arrive here, something happens, something physical even. You're bathed in a different light, you're bathed in an almost maternal warmth. You find yourself in a permanent state of wonder.
Un peu permanent.
Guillaume Prévost is this year's winner of Le Roman de l'été, the novel of the summer, a prize founded by one of the town's grand hotels. The Château de la Messardière wanted to forge links between Saint-Tropez's two worlds.
On a réellement senti un courant de sympathie.
We really got a warm response from the world of the arts. They understood what we were trying to do and wanted to encourage us to pursue these activities.
The sun is out and all is set for a literary summer in Saint-Tropez.
Well, from Saint-Tropez to Hollywood, the author Aurélie Levy is here. Now, you've written a very funny novel about your own experience as a Hollywood superstar's assistant. In French, it's called Ma vie pour un Oscar. In English, it's called And the Oscar Goes To. What sort of dirty dishing in this book?
Everything you've always wanted to know about Hollywood and the behind the scenes of Hollywood, I describe. It's pretty funny. But there's also a very tragic dimension to the characters. I denounce, among other things, the solitude of a lot of celebrities who are, very much alienated by their fame, who struggle with many issues. I mean, you have to be pretty, neurotic in the first place to take on a profession like that. And I describe also, California, Los Angeles, that life, and the irony, really, of those celebrities who have everything and yet, are in a sort of malaise. I think we live in a world where many of us have a tendency to, admire and look up to these people who are in fact much less happy than we are.
You lived over there for 10 years. You've come back to France. Why?
A love story brought me back to France.
Oh, okay. A Hollywood romance, perhaps.
I think once I finally left Hollywood, the true Hollywood romance came into my life. Perhaps that is the message in the book.
And one thing I want to know is who's the superstar that you're talking about in the book?
Aha! You'll have to read the book to sort of find out for yourself. I can tell you who it's not. It's not Tom Cruise. It's not Mel Gibson. It's not John Travolta.
But he's in the same league as these guys.
He's in the same league, yes. But to be very honest, I did work as a personal assistant to a famous actor for many years. The book is really inspired by a number of actors that I met while in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Any good, Augustin? Is it worth reading?
I think it's pretty good. It's very funny at first, and it's also a great take, on this generation who's obsessed with celebrity and success and money. And most of all, it's a lot of fun and contribute too much to a lot of French debut novels. And that really, I find it really interesting in that perspective. Aurélie, was it a kind of challenge for you to write this book in the French literary landscape?
Yes, I think having studied in the States and spoken in English for the past 10 years, I had a sort of freedom with the French language. I originally started writing because I was very frustrated in coming back to France and dealing with a very different society where people are very sort of negative, and I was really in a sort of American frame of mind when I wrote the book. And in the end, what people notice most about the book is my French take on America. So it's a take also on American society, on consumerism, on capitalism, and its consequences really on our daily lives.
Okay, it's always nice to put a book critic on the spot opposite an author and ask him what he thinks of a book.
Quite embarrassing, though.
We're running out of time, Augusta. If people have got time to read just one book this summer, what should they pick?
I think I'd go for an autobiography, a memoir actually, by the British writer Jeanette Winterson. It's called Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal, and it's definitely one of the best books I've read this year. Eve, in fact, she wrote, a book 25 years ago, a debut novel, and she tells the same terrible story of her life, her quest for identity and freedom in a difficult, dysfunctional family. But it could be depressing, but her language is so witty and full of grace that the book is just great. I know that she was one of your guests also.
She's absolutely fabulous. She's one of my favourites. She came into the show and we talked a lot about her mother's abusive behaviour, locking her out of the house, locking her in the coal shed. And she told us that through the years she's learned to accept what happened and now recognises it was that and her mother's poor treatment of her that led to her writing.
Either you crumble and you fall to pieces, or you become dysfunctional in some way, or it gives you a different kind of strength. And if you're locked up or you're on your own for long periods, what do? You invent stories, and that's what I did. And I was always setting my narrative against hers, because she was a great fabulist and a storyteller in her own right. She said that my birth mother was either dead or a drunk or a drug addict, or that she'd exploded. There was always some strange story. So in order to counteract that, I learned to tell my own.
Fabulous writer, fabulous speaker. We saw her there, Jeanette Winterson. Augustin Trapenard, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about your summer reads.
Thank you, Eve.
And Aurélie Levy, the French author, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about your fabulous sounding new book.
Thank you for having me.
And that brings us to the end of the show. If you missed those titles, you can watch this programme again on our website at france24.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and me on Twitter at Evening in Paris. Thanks for watching. See you next time.